The Battle of Britain is about to begin.
Debrief, we got tanks up there. Let's follow a radio on Debrief. I'm coming out right over the target right now. I've got a 17 right in front of me. I'm going after it. Right, I got him.
Welcome back to the Lead Pursuit Podcast. I bet you thought Adepticon had killed us, but no, it didn't. Or maybe the Illinois Highway Department, their toll branch had actually bankrupted the Lead Pursuit Podcast. Pretty close on that one, but no, we're still here. We're back tonight. We got almost the whole gang, except for Casey, the quitter, who's crying in his Cerveza Light because he wasn't at Adepticon. But you know what? We're still going to show up, and we're going to waste your time talking about Adepticon 2024. Well, Brett, how are you doing since you decided to join us, and apparently you're over the funk?
Oh, feeling great. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, good. Chris, the purveyor of the funk, thanks for joining us.
It was the University of Alabama that provided the funk. I was merely a vector.
Yeah, exactly. You merely were the transmitter. Steve, thanks for joining us, even though you're no video for those of us watching on YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Probably a good thing you're no video since you're not wearing pants, at least.
Yeah, I was going to say the only thing that got me over the funk was the thought of seeing those Latinas at Fat Rosie's next year. It made me pull through, so I made it.
Fat Rosie's. Well, and Matt, you joined us, and you're not crying in your beer because, you didn't get to go. But thanks for joining us, bro. It's good to have you.
That's only because I'm drinking whiskey tonight.
Okay, well, excuse us. Well, all right. Well, hey, we'll jump into it real quick. Let's talk about a couple upcoming events and some other new releases and stuff, and then we'll get straight into the Adepticon debrief for all of those sad souls like Matt and Casey who couldn't make it to Adepticon this year. All right. First up, the General Patton's Brawl and Ball on 24 and 25 May. We're not going to be there, but it's a great event going on at the, wait for it, General George S. Patton Museum of Leadership. I'm not exactly sure what you put in a Museum of Leadership, but work with me here. It's the George S. Patton Museum, Fort Knox.
Does
Friday night.
Slapped when you go there?
I was wondering that. I'm like, what exactly is on display for the Museum of Leadership? But apparently it's so that you can learn to be a hero like George S. Patton. Anyway, moving on. So BRS tournament Friday evening, bolt action and some other things going on throughout the rest of the weekend. Should be a great time. Unfortunately, not good for my schedule or for a lot of the other guys, but it's gonna be pretty fun. Show up. Please play some Blood Red Skies and enjoy the tournament there. All right, Origins, also not going to be there, but that should be 19 to 23 June. John Russell will be there, and he will be doing BRS stuff. So if you want to go and you want to either host demos for people and sucker more poor, miserable fools into playing this game, or if you also want to go in and just play a couple games, play something narrative, let John Russell know. Get in touch with John Russell. I'm sure you know how to do that with the Warlord US Warlord Wednesday. So catch up with him and let him know you're attending Origins. We won't be there in case you didn't know. All right. Let's talk about one we're actually going to be at. Historicon, 17 to 21 July, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Yeah, Steve, we're going to be there. Too bad the rest of these sad sacks in this podcast aren't.
Lame.
Yeah, I know.
No, I think
whatever.
Casey's going to be there, actually.
Hopefully Casey will. That would be really awesome. So Casey should be there. Good old Roger Garish should be there. And we're going to be there doing Blood Red Skies, doing some streaming on Twitch. And no, not from a shower, you sick freaks. We stream games, not that other stuff.
Yeah, they changed the terms of service. We can't do that anymore.
We can't do that anymore. We can't do Blood Red Skies and the shower. Two dudes in Blood Red Skies in the shower. We don't need to do that. Anyway, so we might also get some Achtung Panzer because Roger will be there. Should be a good time. I've never done Historicon. Steve, you've done it before. We've witnessed your rant post Historicon.
It was good. It'll be fun. Well, it'll be a good time. It's kind of like a continuation of Fallen, right? Fallen was good. We'll do our own thing, and it'll be a good time.
And it's got the same director. So after all the leadership change, what do you know? So, yeah, that's going to be a really good time, I think. After that, NashCon 15 to 18 August, I will also not be there for that. Matt, I know you said you might try to sneak up there.
Yeah, I got a buddy that is interested in going, that so we might try and go up. It's close enough for me to make it a day trip.
Yeah, it's a quick and easy drive.
We can talk offline about doing like a small tournament or something if you want.
No, you will do a tournament, and you will like it. Member of the Leap Shoot podcast. So we'll see what happens. I'd like to get a BRS tournament in there, maybe some narrative, whatever. Whatever people have time for. But we'll get that on the schedule and get ready to play and have some fun at NashCon. Well, fun without me, because I will not be there. Stupid work schedule. All right. One of the ones we talked about previously, and I gave you the wrong dates for, which was the replacement for Crucible, aka QuestCon. That will be 6 to 8 September, not October. 6 to 8 September in Orlando, Florida, the weekend after Labor Day. And it's obviously combining a gaming and other convention with Crucible and I guess cosplay and comics and whatever. So really big convention now for that. And so it should be pretty darn good.
Is Casey going to cover the furry report?
I would hope he would if he attends that. So, Casey, there's probably not going to be a furry report from Historicon, I'm betting. Or it'll be the wrong kind of furries that we don't want to know about. But I'm pretty sure he'll have to attend QuestCon. Millennium Con probably isn't going to have a furry report this year either. That's kind of disappointing. All right. Other things. Fall in, TBD, maybe. Maybe I'll go to Lancaster twice in 1 year. That's kind of frightening. But we'll see what we do in the fall. And there's some other events that'll be going on around the U.S., so we'll keep you updated. But please send us your events. So let us know where you're hosting Blood Red Skies or Aeronautica events or anything aerial related in general. I know there's another one that I didn't get on the schedule, the AirCon up in where is it? I think it's in Wisconsin. I have to go look that one up again. But AirCon and Aerial Wargaming Con is coming up this summer as well. All right. Send us your events. Maybe we'll send you some swag. Maybe we'll be nice. Who knows? Probably not. You'll probably get a box of plastic Spitfires with bent wings. But you know what? You can't say Elite Pursuit didn't send you anything. All right. Let's move on. We're going to skip over the flight line and new stuff we've seen out there because we're going to talk about a lot of that at Adepticon. And then we're also going to skip the Intel brief because guess what? There's a lot of churn over FAQs and other stuff. We can talk about that at the end. But I want to jump straight into the Adepticon debrief. Now, I realize we're a couple weeks late. Apparently, everybody else who is anybody already has their Adepticon summary or debrief out there. But tough luck. We had work we had to do. We're not dudes that live in a basement and are running a YouTube channel. So we actually have work we have to accomplish when we come back from a gaming weekend. But first, let me give a couple thank yous out there. Most importantly to Mike Rafferty, Don Ayers, and the entire, as I call them, the Nards of War. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean the Nerds of War. Nerds of War. Those guys did a freaking amazing job. So small golf clap, slow clap for our friends in the Nerds of War. Really, really fun to hang out with that crew. They hooked us up. They did a lot of stuff to facilitate all of the gaming over at the Hyatt, not just historical. Armada was over there, and as well as, let's see, Saga, Middle Earth Strategy Battle Game, all kinds of stuff was over there. So huge thank you to those guys. Anyone else want to say something nice about the Nerds of War before we make fun of them for the next hour?
They were great dudes. They couldn't have been better hosts. I mean, just helping us get equipment out and everything else and being there, and we needed to move stuff around. Those guys were just, they run a good event.
Yep.
So
yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, and they're really taking the bull by the horns to kind of like grow the historicals at Adepticon. Like they're really noticeable difference in how well it's run over at the Hyatt and like all that stuff. Like it's really, really going good places.
Yeah, it is. So I'm really enjoying working with those guys. So Mike, Don, thanks to you and thanks to your crew. Really appreciate it. All right, another thank you that we have to give is to Army Painter. Chris, what would you like to say for Army Painter?
We went into everything and not to drag on Monument Hobbies at all, but it was mentioned that Monument was providing a lot of paint. That just didn't materialize. I think it was because we were at the Hyatt. It just didn't work out the way we wanted to. And on a lark, I just kind of went over there and ran into Kat in the hallway from Army Painter. I know her from taking her classes with CK Studios, and told her, hey, we're running a paint class. And she was like, hey, let me go introduce you to some people. Took me to the booth, and long story short, they asked me what I was doing. I said I was doing an airbrushing class, and they reached back and grabbed the mega airbrush set, which I think is 150 bottles of paint, and just handed it to me. And then they were like, oh, well, you might want to do some shading on those models. So here's the mini set of all of our, the other paints that we just put out, the speed paints we just put out. So yeah, it was huge. They basically just handed us $350 product and didn't even bat an eye at it, and said, hey, just give us a shout out on social media. So here's one of your mini shouts. Kat, Alex, guys, everybody at CK, Caleb, you guys are awesome, and we really appreciate it. And a plug for them. The paint has been great. I've been using a lot of Monument paint lately and a lot of AK product lately. This was my first big exposure to Army Painter in probably 6 years, and their new airline is just phenomenal. Shoots right out. You just throw it in the paint, keep going.
Yeah, I'm going to pretty much have to drive over after next week and steal them from you.
Oh, absolutely.
And try them a little bit, because I'm a huge Army Painter fan. I know a lot of people have bagged on Army Painter. I know even we picked on them with the original speed paint that had some re-wetting problems and some consistency problems. And then Brett, of course, is going to say that he's done everything with Army Painter while blindfolded and one hand tied behind his back.
No, I just picked up some Army Painter 2.0 at my local game shop to try some slap chop technique on some bolt action figures. And man, I got to say, it looked great. And for the speed, man, you can't beat it. I mean, if you're doing a large army, it came out, I thought it came out pretty good. That slap chop technique with a speed paint 2.0.
Yep.
It got the job done.
2.0 is nice. And I'll tell you, the good thing with their website, unlike GW, who I'm going to bag on, even though I love their contrast paints, their website gives you no idea what it's going to look like when it goes on. When you go to Army Painter, it shows you over a very light primer what it's going to look like. And so you get a really good idea. And I bring it up, especially because of this plasmatic bolt, which I got because it mixes in with some of the color triangles of what I have. But because I was able to go look at it on the website, I went, ooh, that's going to go on really, really light, except in the recesses. So it allowed me to modify how I was going to do it, change the color of the primer that was underneath it in an attempt to get a darker shade on there.
Yeah, I'll jump on this too. I just finished or just started working on some of the Clash of Steel models you all gave me or picked up for me from Adepticon. Used their tri-air system for some British tanks, and it went on super, super smooth, like way smoother than I was expecting. I didn't have to thin it at all, like Chris said, and then I masked right over it. It didn't peel off with the masking putty I was using. Right. It was phenomenal.
Well, I don't know if it's the entire line, but I know that their new air paints, which is the big set we got, it even designates what are mids, what are highs, what are deep tones, and it just makes it stupid simple. I'm redoing my entire Skaven army for the old world now and rebasing everything, and that was all done with GW Paint 5 years ago. Actually, no, 10 years ago. And I'm going back through now and redoing everything. And I can also say that the 2.0 air paints, they have such close matches to the old classic GW paints, like the browns and everything else. You can seamlessly match that paint back in. I mean, I'm doing these bases right now, and they look just like the original ones.
And that's one of the things this was an old Citadel color that is not made by GW anymore. And thankfully, it now exists on the Army Painter line, so I was able to go back and match exactly what used to be on my Terminators. We used to be on a lot of my old Rogue Trader Space Marines, little beakies, and then mix it with a speed paint as well to do some cool effects. So,
with everybody digging on them when they had the what happened with 1.0, I can tell you that there are a lot of companies that would have just said, "Oh, that's actually a feature," and it's
it's intended to re-wet. That's exactly what we do.
They would have PR covered it. That's for some new high-speed blending technique. But to Army Painter's credit, they just said, "Oops, sorry." here's something we're going to fix it.
We're going to fix it.
They fixed it, and they fixed it well. And I can't say enough about them. Everything I've touched so far from that new air box is rock solid. Yeah, and I think I've used about 20 paints out of it.
I'll be honest, even matching to like historical paint schemes versus like stuff for AI or Warhammer or what have you has been super easy just because of the sheer volume of colors that they've got, especially in that airline, having that triad.
Yep.
I mixed some Vallejo, and it mixed perfectly with some Vallejo, like that bronze green for the British tanks. It mixed really, really well and still sprayed with my airbrush really, really well.
Well, when you're done kissing their ass, we can finally move on here. No, seriously, to Army Painter, thank you. From the entire team, thank you. It helped us out a lot, and it was a lot of fun to get to use. And I'll have to start experimenting some more when I get back to painting here and not editing video, but that's a whole nother story. All right, another shout out, and this is just as important as our sponsors and the people that took care of us. Everybody who showed up to play a Lead Pursuit hosted game, thank you. That's not a small thing because, once again, Blood Red Skies may or may not be the largest aerial war game in the U.S., and Aeronautica Imperialis doesn't always have a ton of players. But everyone showed up to play. Sure, there were some sloppy play things out there, some sloppy dice, sloppy models, whatever. Mistakes were made. People showed up to game, and that's what we really care about. Overall, the sportsmanship was really, really well above what we saw, especially at tables next to us like Bolt Action, where we saw some craziness going on there and got some feedback from some guys that they weren't having a whole heck of a lot of fun. But really, really appreciate all the work from all the players, keeping it professional and keeping it fun for everybody. I know someone has input on that. I'm not just going to sit here listening to Chris dry fit his models in the background.
I actually have my microphone silenced.
No, you didn't, because I can hear you dry fitting your models in the background.
Oh man, I turned the microphone off. Okay, maybe it's not working. So I'll stop.
That's all right.
But no, I mean, I can say that the Aeronautica stuff was fun to actually go see Aeronautica played at a con, because that was the first time I've seen it played at a con. And the people that were playing it were really into it, and the sportsmanship was just freaking awesome. There were some guys that were in bad situations in the game, and they handled it just with absolute grace. And you don't always see that in games.
Don't talk about Steve like that, just because Steve was, getting it broken off that as he was flying lightnings.
Yeah. I'm down with AI, man. You got me back into that. I'm
good. I'm glad the bug bit you again.
So for someone who wasn't there, what were the scenarios that were?
We're not going to talk about that yet. We'll come back to that. There's a whole section if you read the show notes. But you know what? Well, apparently not well enough.
How about the streaming stuff? We really keep evolving that. We streamed some other games. World of Tanks came over, and our whole stream setup was even more streamlined.
Yes, it's weird. We'll talk about that next. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the cats that I heard on a weekly basis. Now Matt is phoning a friend or his congressman because I'm abusing him. That's all right. Okay. Anyway, hey, let me also give some shout outs to the rest of the team. First of all, thanks to Brett. If you played with any of the Blood Red Skies miniatures that were there in the Furball, you owe Brett a debt of gratitude. So thanks for repainting all of them and decaling all of them and getting them back in the box and hawk widgeting all of them. So I super appreciate that. I know everybody that played, it was light years ahead of last year, things we tried to throw together at the last minute. But appreciate the hard work there, Brett. So give yourself a nice pat on the back for all that hard work. Swag. Steve, the motherfucking swag machine. Jeez, I know it was a joke that you put on Instagram, but I swear, I think you had your family washing glasses, polishing acrylic, and, doing whatever, trying to get that stuff done. So thanks, Steve. I really appreciate all the hard work for that. I know everybody gets a kick out of getting the glasses at Lead Pursuit events. So I think we'll have to figure out how to top it next year.
I hope everybody liked it because next year everybody's just getting neoprene ship targets. So
exactly, our back stock of neoprene ship targets. Congratulations! Look what you all get! Yay! That's all right. Well, and I think we actually have several complaints about the glasses, and you will laugh when I say complaints in air quotes. Complaints. People really liked the ACE listing on the back after the first year. And they're like, hey, where's this listing of aces and how much alcohol they drink? So I don't know. Maybe we have to be funny.
Yeah, we can go back to that. We could spice it up a little for next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think I even have one of those glasses.
Oh, did we cheat you out of that? Oops, sorry. Steve, quick, make him one. Send it with the rest of the stuff. Anyway, so also thanks to Casey. Printing a bunch of stuff for us, also painted a bunch of stuff that we used this time and at Historicon. So if you played Indian MiG-21s versus Pakistani F-86s, you were playing with Casey models that he printed and painted. Thanks, dude. Really appreciate it. I know you're still crying in your beer that you weren't at Adepticon, but get the fuck over it. And we're going to have you print more models for next year, whatever we're doing. F4s, I guess. I don't know.
So,
but thanks.
Besides the
Go
glasses, what else was in the swag box?
For Lead Pursuit or
yes.
For everybody else?
No, I know what everyone else was because I got all of it.
Yeah, exactly. We dumped the rest of our swag on you. No, we gave away, the magnets, got the, here's the thing. I have a glass and, oh, by the way, I have a magnet for you, but, I haven't seen you since we came back.
Yes,
yeah.
you have, you ding dong. You gave it to me.
Oh, did I give it to you? Damn it.
Yeah,
I'm already having seen your moment. That's right. I did give it to you when I gave you the stuff. Yeah, I still got to give one to Wes and those guys. So see, why are you even asking? You got your own stuff. You already got all your swag.
For the listener.
Shut up and build your tanks. Yeah, if the listener actually cares, if they actually care. But, Matt, the question we have is, what do you do again? What did you contribute to the swag other than being the benefit of all the swag bag?
I volunteered to paint the terrain, but you didn't give me any.
No, I didn't. Oh, and I forgot. Chris, thank you so much for that one table of crazy, what did we decide to call it? It's
Wily
Roadrunner.
Coyote,
Yeah, Wily
Roadrunner
Coyote Roadrunner terrain. That was awesome.
That was exactly the color palette I was going for. I was like, how am I going to paint this desert terrain? And immediately popped in my head. I was like, how many Roadrunner cartoons did you watch as a kid? That's the one where you.
Yep, that was awesome.
You absolutely missed an opportunity to paint a fake train tunnel on one of them.
No, because then he would have flown into it himself, being the master of flying through the tunnels. We might have to do that.
With a Thunderhawk.
Yeah, exactly. We might have to put a fake tunnel with a Thunderhawk coming through it on the other side. But seriously, guys, thanks everyone for all the help and all the support. It is no small thing to put on this kind of event. Yes, sir. Mr. Chris.
One
sir.
other thank you shout out that we almost forgot. Thanks to High Ground Hobby, who supplied all of the lights that we used in the painting class and several of the airbrushes that we used in the painting class. And
absolutely.
That was a big help. Thanks, Wes.
And thanks, Wes. I really enjoyed you putting one light in there that had a short in it that about drove Chris to drink at 3 in the afternoon as he was trying to teach with it. So thank you for the Blue Falcon light in there. Sorry, go ahead.
Not a normal Tuesday for Chris.
Yeah, well, that is true. He actually had to teach. He couldn't be three sheets to the wind. All right. So let's talk about the event itself. Wednesday, we all kind of got there and got ourselves figured out. A lot of vendor hall stuff. A couple things I was looking at. I was trying to get over and go get a demo of Aerodome. Not Aerodrome. Aerodome. This game from Ephirian Games. So thankfully I have a demo copy. I can now take a look at that. But they were busy. Those guys were demoing the game constantly. I didn't get a chance to learn to play it with them, but it looked like they were having a lot of fun. And I know they did a couple events throughout the week. I know we also kind of talked about when we came back product and how strange it was, Chris. It wasn't like a lot of Adepticons previous where we went there and there was acrylic dealers and templates being sold. And it seemed like it kind of had shifted.
Yeah, it was really odd. I couldn't help but to feel like every place I looked in the vendor hall was someone hawking a game that was either a game or a clone of a game that was somewhere else in the vendor hall. I mean, there was clones of clones of clones. I can't remember how many BattleTech clones I saw, how many like skirmish games I saw. It was just everything was a clone this year, and all of the good,
which I guess is first world problems. So I do have to kind of laugh about it. Is I was just unpacking some of the stuff and putting some things away, and I obviously have the Death Ray Designs, their rules for BattleTech, like Battle Mech Combat, and I'm just kind of laughing that it's a horrible thing to have to choose between all these different games that are not just someone's random indie set of rules. They actually have miniatures, and they have terrain, and they have things built out for them. So,
and that's a good Death Ray Design specifically. I had 4 friends that came up to me that were all like, they were jazzed that they were going to go to Adepticon and see Death Ray Design terrain that was painted, and they were going to be able to buy it. And guess what was the one thing they did not have at their booth?
Yeah.
They had
no
no terrain.
That surprised me that they were not, because last year when we went there, they still had all the mech stuff, but they also had a heck of a lot of terrain. So I don't know if prices went up because their booth was also about a third smaller than last year. So I don't know what shifted economically, but they obviously were pushing their game more than they were pushing their terrain. And I love their terrain. I've actually got some pieces of it sitting right here on my painting desk. That it's good stuff. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, I talked to some friends, and I think one of the reasons why we didn't see, because I was specifically looking for like 3-inch blast markers or like 7-inch apocalyptic blast markers, things that aren't common anymore. And one of my buddies said, "Hey, Dodo, most games have gotten rid of freaking templates, most GW games,
right.
Which, face it, that's a large part of the market. So there's just not the encouragement for those smaller companies to show up and make a custom set of, templates for a game that doesn't use templates anymore." So Horus Heresy and some of those other games that do use those templates are they're not as mainline as the other stuff. So there's just not as much money in it, probably. So that could be
but I think there's still a lot of games out there that use the tokens, that use wound markers, that use a lot of that. So I get that the big thought of templates like GW would use, but there's still a lot of skirmish games that use templates. There's still a lot of people that have made movement templates for some of the skirmish games. So I don't know. I think it was just a surprise. It leads me to believe that the costs went way up.
It seemed like people were piled in on top of each other too. It was like everything in the vendor hall in general was tighter. I know that the attendance for Adepticon was up 1,500 a day or something like that. I did see somewhere that the door attendance, which is not everybody that comes to Adepticon pays. A lot of them just go in the vendor hall, and they said that their attendance was way up, just traffic wise, and that could have accounted for some of it too.
Yeah, I think there's also just a lot of indie gamers that are trying to make their splash at Adepticon because they can't afford Origins or Gen Con or one of those, and it's probably still cheap enough to get into Adepticon and still have a pretty good crowd through there. Because I saw a couple historical games that were being played over at the Hyatt, but had their booth over obviously in the vendor hall, that were fairly new games, things that people were trying to intro. So. It was a good mix. I don't want to sound like we're bagging on the vendor hall. It just was strange for me to see a couple vendors that weren't there, and then to see how things had kind of shifted where some of the smaller independent ones weren't. But and actually something that was cool to me was to see how many of the super small vendors had kind of grown, and some of the people that were terrain providers that kind of had a single width booth and had some stuff 3D printed last year. This year they had an entire section of the hallway and had terrain set up and a bunch of, pre-printed stuff ready to sell. So there were a lot of people that had really made a shift. And like our friends over at Dad's Army, they had a bunch of stuff that they had printed and ready to go, and they were trying to sell out in the hallway. So I think I think it's just shifted with some of the economics. And of course, all the big players were there. I walked around and spent, way too much time looking at stuff from Atomic Mass. I went by and looked at Ravaged Star. I don't know if any of you guys did. Took a look at the stuff from Mini Wargaming. Those are really cool miniatures. They're really well detailed and really, really, really beautiful. I also don't need to buy another 28 mil game or buy any more miniatures to put into a 28 mil game. But what else did you guys see in the vendor hall that kind of interested you?
Steve found a bespoke game.
Yeah,
was it My Little Pony? Was that the game?
No,
Sorry.
I was going to give a shout out to a company here quick, Left Justified Studios. They make a whole bunch of different kind of like quirky, weird card games. They had a card game. Every year I try to find something to kind of bring home to the family from Adepticon, and found a game called Kill the Unicorns. It's a card game. The artwork's pretty cool on it. The mechanic is super easy. It's really silly and goofy. You're like hunting these unicorns, and the objective is to kill the most unicorns, and then you can sell them to the unicorn
awesome.
butcher shop to get points and like all kinds of crazy stuff like that. But yeah, it's been a big hit with the family. So Kill the Unicorns or other of those quirky card games from Left Justified Studios. Give
That's
them a look.
awesome. Brett, what'd you find? Did you find another motorcycle?
Man, I came up kind of empty on models. I had a couple of, well, admittedly, maybe not top tier bolt action models I was looking for, and they didn't have them in the booth. So I came home and spent like $100 once you consider the $25 shipping.
Yeah.
So I didn't make the break point for a couple models, but although I did get, I got a dry brush palette.
Okay.
That goes with my wet palette, fits right inside. Those guys that, gosh, I can't recall the name of the vendors, but they always have the cool like model holders and the scrubby deals that go in the bottom of your water cup for cleaning your brushes and the wet palettes and stuff. So that's what I got. I came home with fewer things that I purchased this time.
Yeah, I didn't buy a whole lot. Maybe it's because I was always doing stuff at the Hyatt while my team was over in the vendor hall. Yeah, thanks, Blue Falcons. No, I came back with a expansion for an aerial miniatures war game. So it's called Blue Sky White Star. It's a kind of a sequel to another one that I just ordered off Noble Knight. Thank you, Noble Knight, for taking all my money again. But yeah, I got I guess the rules I've got ordered are what's called Red Sun, White Star. So we'll see. I'm going to see what the rules are. It's been out for a couple of years, and see if there's another interesting miniatures game to do aerial stuff with. But then other than that, I didn't buy a whole lot. Didn't really see much that I needed right off the bat. There's a lot of stuff that I wanted, but definitely not stuff that I needed. Anything else that guys found going through the vendor hall that was kind of interesting? Matt's favorite Turbo Dork paints were there.
Oh, I love the Turbo Dorks. Man, they're a little bit hard to spray, but the effects are just real neat. I got one. I can't remember which metallic it is, but I want to use it on some bare metal BRS planes because the reflection effect is real neat. Yeah,
they had a lot of their stuff there, and a lot of neat stuff. So that's kind of our quick summary of the vendor hall. Once again, you can't even do a video of it. There's just so much stuff you have to see. So go to Adepticon one year. Yeah,
I have some information that indicates you missed out on an A4.
I did not buy an A4 for you. Sorry.
Pourquoi?
No, I didn't. And I did actually. So a funny side note, I went around talking to all the vendors that had GW stuff, trying to pick up any last minute Aeronautica. And the good thing is, so were some of the other people that play Aeronautica and played in our event. So pretty much everybody beat me to whatever last minute Aeronautica sales there were. But yeah, that stuff was also gone by the time that I rolled through there. So if you're trying to build a army, I guess there's still some stuff on eBay that's not stupid expensive. Question mark?
No,
I know some guys are looking at it. But
I saw some Orcs, Tau, Thunderbolts, maybe some of the Imperial Navy bombers. They're about $30 a pop, which really isn't. It's a little bit high, but it's not too bad. Considering you really only need one box for the most part.
Right. So buy them there if you can't get them, and then some of them will come back, and otherwise you can 3D print it. All right. So let's talk about Thursday. Thursday events. We did the Blood Red Skies Beyond Mig Alley. So we did a bunch of the missile rules kind of stuff for Blood Red Skies. That was a lot of fun. We did a Taiwan Straits scenario, and then we did a Vietnam scenario. We did F-100s versus MiG-17s. for the first time publicly, besides just being in a beta playtest. So that was a heck of a lot of fun, and people really enjoyed the Vietnam rules, the missile rules, and it kind of gave me hope that there's enough in the community interested so that we can keep putting out scenarios and putting out stats and things for the 50s, 60s jets and doing some of that work. I don't know. Did any of you guys, were you all gone at that time? I think y'all were vendor hauling and Chris was teaching and everybody else was doing something else. No one else came over and watched that game, did you? No? Okay. Yeah. Well, you missed out. It was fun. Watching the guys from Iron Dice, watching Evan freaking chase me around with his F-100 to kill my MiG-17s. So it took them a while, but they finally got us. Finally, they boomed us out. All right. But enough about that. What else did anyone do on Thursday? I know guys were trying to play some Blood and Plunder. Chris was teaching his airbrush class. What else did people do?
I think Steve and I did. Is that the day we played a little bit of Oak and Iron?
Yeah, Thursday was the World of Tanks streaming.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. That's right. We were busy with World of Tanks. It was Friday. The next day was when we got to have our kind of more free day.
Which was cool, to see World of Tanks, right? I've never seen that game before. Kind of like Blood Red Skies with tanks. Like very simple, very easy, intuitive to pick up. The card mechanic is kind of neat, where their cards play off each other and you kind of build your crew out a little bit like X-Wing. If you want to get a simple tank game, I would say, man, maybe give it a look. The tanks look super cool, pre-painted. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed a new game.
So I have the previous version, which was just tanks, ! And really absolutely loved it. I did pick up a couple of the World of Tanks stuff recently, just because I wanted the models after you guys gave me the Clash of Steel box sets. I wanted another Moss and another what was it, the Yag Tiger. So I picked those up, and looking at the cards and everything, it looks like it's pretty much a very similar, if not the same game, just reskinned for the license. But it is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed playing that game. I probably played that second most next to Blood Red Skies. But it is a lot of fun.
Don't the World of Tank models come in blister packs or already pre-assembled? And
they do. They're pre-assembled, pre-primed. Like I said, I just got the Yag Tiger, the Maz, and the E100. And frankly, they're really well assembled for what they are. The only one that had maybe like a slight defect was the E100, and I sanded it off right away, and I was gonna paint them, so it wasn't a big deal at all.
I love the look of that scale. Looks great.
Yeah. Steve, how was it streaming the event? Was it pretty fun to watch those guys go at it? Because I guess like you can mix tanks in amongst different factions. It's more video game like in that sense than historical grognard crunchy. What is your force org kind of thing.
Yeah, it was cool. Their tournament game, their rules centered around kind of capturing two objectives. So it was cool to watch that scenario play out where guys were kind of trying to like sit their tanks on the objective. And then the way the movement works in that game, they were kind of trying to position their tanks to more or less like block movements of other people. So I thought it was just really cool. Kind of the same way like Blood Red Skies isn't always like that fight to the death where you shoot down every single plane. There was a lot going on in World of Tanks that didn't have to do with just, I kill all your tanks or you kill all my tanks, so I thought they had a really good feel for the way their tournament worked. And it was cool just to get another game system on the streaming setup, kind of see how it transferred. Would love to get some bolt action on there or stuff like that moving forward. But yeah, it was really, really good.
Yeah. We need to get that video up. It's my fault for not having that video finished editing. Get that back up and on YouTube so people can see what the stream looked like. So it was pretty cool. Okay. So moving on. Oh, go ahead, Chris. Talk about your class. Tell us how wonderful you are.
Just shout out real quick. We did do the paint class. It went really well. We painted a 113 armor personnel carrier. Thank you, Casey. Those prints were insane good. And everybody had a good time. So it's something we will do more of in the future. So watch out for it, and we will definitely be doing a lot more of it, because it was a lot of fun, and it was really interesting. We had a lot more than just historical gamers. I thought we were going to get a lot of we were going to get a lot of bolt action guys, or we're going to get a lot of BRS guys, but honestly, it was a heavy Warhammer crowd, and they could care less what they were painting. They just wanted to learn the techniques for fading armor and that type of stuff. And it was a pretty basic airbrushing class. I think we'll definitely keep that going forward, because it was really well received, and a lot of people were just blown away how easy it is. I think a lot of people are intimidated by the airbrush until they take one good class. And then it's like, hey, this just isn't rocket science. It's obviously not rocket science. I'm good at it. So, but it's something that's easy to teach, and it's something that gives people a lot of confidence just taking the class. But no, it went great. It was same class Thursday as Sunday too. So it was, but we'll look at working some other stuff in. We got some ideas going forward. But thanks again to everybody who supported the class and came out for the class. Met some amazing people, and made a lot of friends already over freaking Instagram and Facebook, and have already gotten some questions out of people that came to the class. So it was good. It was really good.
Did they ask how to paint the Thunderhawk? The Space Marines need special colors. Sorry, that for all of you that hate me for making fun of Space Marines. Yeah.
It was really fun. I mean, not to plug Army Painter again, because we've done it ad nauseum, but it was really neat just to have that box of paints. And I was expecting people to say they wanted camo green stuff, or they wanted this color, and everybody was like, "Hey, I want to paint Alpha Legion."
I have blood angels. I need some red. Can you hand me the red, please? Sorry. I got to make fun of all Space Marine players. Yes, all right. Absolutely. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad that was good. So, we're going to try to do that. I know it's tough to fit into everyone's schedule anytime other than Adepticon, but who knows? Maybe when you guys get together and do some heresy stuff at High Ground or some other time, there's another opportunity to do some more painting out there. All right, Friday, the BRS Fur Ball, which was a lot of fun. I had a good time. It always is a little slow to get started with the Fur Ball, but I thought it went pretty well, getting everybody going and getting a game in there, and even the Blue Falcon himself, Mike Lewis, shooting down a poor defenseless kid as he was trying to turn away from the fight. But it was a good time again, and I think everybody that was there that was playing got a chance to pick up Blood Red Skies in a not very historical environment. Shoot at the big multi-engine bomber. So once again, Steve, thank you for that wonderful design. And Casey, thank you for printing and painting those. It's always hilarious when you bring a 5-engine B-17 with a P-38 stuck on the back, a twin boom B-17. Yeah, people don't quite know what to do when they see that. So I know you guys were kind of coaching people during the Fur Ball. What did you think of the Fur Ball overall?
It went pretty well. I mean, I think it broke down into about 4 different tables of gameplay.
It did. There were at least 3 different fights that were going on at one point. Yeah.
I mean, really, probably by the second turn, everybody at each table had already figured out the whole activation sequence. And so they were just running their own game at that table.
Yeah.
So that was good. That's the whole purpose of the Fur Ball, right? Is to get people who've never played Blood Red Skies before a chance to figure out the activation sequence, basic movement. Then you start to throw in a little bit of like the cards and some of those things, and they got to do all those things. And literally by turn 2, they weren't even looking at what we projected on the wall anymore. They knew what step we were on. So that was good. That was good to see how they were picking it up so quick.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun time. It's always good to retire to the bar after that and go hang out and relax and talk Blood Red Skies with everybody. What else did people see on Friday that was of note?
Yeah, Friday me and Brett played our yearly Oak and Iron game. That was cool. We sat down and Brett, I don't know, swapped my deck or whatever. I don't know what the typical pirate parlance would be.
I don't know. Ask Matt. He's the son of a sailor.
That doesn't mean what you think it means.
Oh, my bad. No, that game is awesome, right? Every time we play that game, we're like, man, this game is so much fun. We need to play this more.
Listen up, sailors. We're swapping the decks today. Sorry.
We also played our yearly bolt action escalation that we got going on. Yeah. Shout out to Evan and Ben and the Iron Dice gaming crew for letting us use their awesome Stalingrad table and limp us through a limp us through another bolt action game. Me and Brett are getting really good at just like looking really pathetic so people feel sorry for us and then just help us play bolt action. We're getting
what do I do now? What am I supposed to do? I just want to play bolt action. Is it my activation? I don't know.
Yeah, we get adopted by better and better, like more competent people every time, like fancier tables. And we had like 6 people hovering around us, giving us drinks and telling us how to play. Like we were remarking after the fact, maybe the next day about, I didn't even like try to like understand the rules because they were just telling me what to do. It was awesome.
This is a weird honeypot you guys are running.
Yeah, we're like the Make-A-Wish bolt action guys. Like they just help us out.
It was like, just help these guys. There's no way they're going to ever figure this game out on their own. Oh, nice. Yeah, well. What else on Friday? I know, Chris, you were doing heresy stuff.
Yeah, I did the Team Heresy event with my good friend that came over from Germany, Jeremy, and it was an absolute blast. We got to play 3 games back to back. Just we actually we felt bad. We thought we brought really toned down lists, but I think just being Garage Hammer buddies for a solid year and getting so many reps in with each other and knowing each other, we curb stomped some people, not intentionally, but it was bad. But it was good. It was a lot of fun. I can't say enough about the Heresy crowd. It is just such a fun group to be around. The Nirvana room is always insane, and it was a really good time. Just getting to play a little bit of Heresy makes Adepticon every time. And seeing Jeremy was just King Kong. Hadn't seen him since we moved back from Germany, so it was cool.
Cool.
Really good time.
Cool. All right, let's talk about Saturday. So, Blood Red Skies tournament, the largest one we've ever hosted. Let's not be shy about that. 13 players out there. The rankings top to bottom. Mike Lewis was in first place there with his Spit 5B Tropicals. Second was Dante Ostrowski, and Spit 5B's non-tropical. So kind of a trend there. And third was Justin Baumgartner with the P51B. So there's a couple differences there for the stats on the B from the D that we usually see people playing. But it was kind of interesting tournament. I think there was a wide variety of aircraft, and we'll talk about it later when we talk about some of the tournament takeaways in a follow-on episode. There was a big variety of aircraft again this year. Now, I do have to laugh that people will sometimes bring aircraft to a tournament just to see how they play, and sometimes they don't play well at all. So that's all right. Last year's winner brought a biplane this year and did not do well, but that's all right. And there were a lot of other aircraft that were out there that we hadn't necessarily seen before. Rhonda brought her Corsairs and rockets again in an attempt to punch people in the face with all those dice since you're doubling your firepower. But I thought it was a good setup. What'd you guys think just seeing how people were playing in the tournament settings?
The first thing I noticed was how well painted all the planes were. Everybody came, good looking planes. It was great to look down the row of tables and see all that.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of churn. There was churn about scenario 2 and some of our 3x3 tables. We can talk about that kind of at the end. And that's bad on us. We should have played the scenarios more before we made it the tournament baseline. But I assumed, and you know what happens when you assume. So I assumed some things, and it turns out those things were not valid. And in fact, it meant we had to make a couple rulings real time during the tournament. I don't know if Brett, did you want to weigh in on any of the real time rulings? Because we had a couple things that had gone on.
Well, there was that potential for everybody to end up being disadvantaged in the center of the table. And that happened in our first game that was on the streaming table, right? Yeah. So we had to figure out how do we place folks so that it makes sense, right? When everybody's disadvantaged, that was unexpected.
Yeah, because it's currently there's no maximum number of disadvantaged elements in scenario 2. So you could theoretically roll terribly or have aircraft with poor quality, and you could start disadvantaged. And when you start disadvantaged in scenario 2, your opponent places you, and then you still have to be 18 inches away. But we'll talk more about that towards the end of the show. But yeah, there's a lot of churn on that, so I'll take the blame on that one. I didn't research this scenario a whole lot. It is kind of funny though that in all the time we've played it, we've never run into that. But we just, I guess, Should have looked at the odds for rolling some of those dice and what happens if you all screw up. Any other things on the tournament?
I think just one takeaway for me is, not a fault of anybody, but the more people we get in a tournament, the more aware we have to be of kind of actively reffing and like stuff like that, I think, right? Excuse me. So in the past, it's just been smaller numbers. So it's been much easier to kind of have an experienced player playing with a non-experienced player, kind of cleaning up some of those sloppy errors, right? And as stuff grows, it just becomes more of a burden on the tournament. The people running the tournament need to take more of the burden to kind of clean up some of that stuff in real time.
It's something we've talked about, that we've gotten to the point where there's 3 of us that are running the streaming and talking heads, etc., and we don't have someone who's kind of a pit judge that's just walking around seeing how things are going, that's available for questions. Because once again, when people are asking questions, they're coming up to us at the streaming table or at the kind of the booth there, asking us questions, taking us away from watching some of the games. So I think we've got to figure out the manning of how we do this and figure out the staffing. But it's kind of on us to determine what's more important, having 2 talking heads being smart asses like Brett and I are, sitting there, talking through the games, or is it more important to have people out able to help the players, and then maybe one person commenting on the head stream, on the top streaming table, or whatever table's being streamed at that point. So we'll work our way through it. But if anyone would like to volunteer and would like to be a tournament judge, just apply. We need you. Or Matt, maybe you could join us next year and travel to Adepticon.
Working on it. But you're also assuming a lot that I don't even remember the rules by that point.
Yeah. So let me make another pitch here, which is kind of funny. So for people, when you're a judge, know the effing rules and know the effing FAQ. And likewise, when you bring an issue to the judge, know the rules and know the effing FAQ. It was kind of funny. There were a few times that people would come up with a question, not necessarily a dispute, but a question that was blatantly in the FAQ. So it's kind of like last time, RTF tournament packet. So read the FAQs, be conversant with it. I'm not saying everyone has to be a rules expert, but if there's new questions, and aggressive tactics was one of them. If there's new questions in there, understand what's in the errata, what's in the FAQ, because people are going to play to that rules, and they're going to hold you to those rules. Okay.
What was the biplane that was brought?
I-153s.
Bold.
Yeah. Soviet biplane. So yeah, did not do well.
No, I can't imagine they did.
It was entertaining to watch, but no, did not do well at all. That's all right. So, all right. That evening we did the AI narrative. So we had 10 tables all set out with a lot of different scenarios out there, some new terrain. Obviously, like we talked about earlier, we had Chris's Wile E. Coyote desert terrain out there in our large desert 2v2 board. So that scenario was a new one where you were trying to get across the board with your transports, land on basically these pinnacles, or mesas, I guess, really, out there in the middle of your opponent's deployment zone. And then, Steve and his counterpart there, Connor, just decided to table their opponent in the first game, not even try to get the objectives there. Steve, nice work.
Yeah, I'm back in, man. I really liked AI. I think this is the first time I really got to play a game where I wasn't kind of doing something else or kind of having somebody kind of handhold me through the whole game, right? Man, I really, really liked it. So much more fun. Like when I actually got to kind of like just really focus on the way the movements work. And man, I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I like AI, guys laugh that we play every Monday night that I can at least make it out there. It's so much fun, and it's a good time to get together and play that. I think especially because we've got a couple scenarios that we're really trying to tweak. Those have been fun. I know Chris was laughing because he was down on the end of the table as the rogue Sky Fortress down there, and that became a bizarre mismatch of Rhonda shooting at the Sky Fortress and the Tau players dogpiling on the other Imperial player.
We basically ended up with 2 games going on. We had Rhonda versus me playing Sky Fortress, and then the Tau players ganging up on the Imperial guy who he could not have taken that drumming better. There was a no way, and the guy was running a drone list, so it was not even the fact that it was a Tau. It was the fact that there were just 20 activations on that side of the board with a Tau alone, and it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Didn't Steve have some kind of like a list building epiphany? He discovered his favorite aircraft is now available to him or something?
He does like the Lightning, so.
Yeah, and before, like, I was told by the expert of this game that I couldn't use the Valkyries in with my Lightning, but now I can. So, yeah, I mean, the whole game has reopened up to me.
Yeah. I think it makes it interesting to play, I guess what we would call Imperial Soup, where you've got mixed in, you've got Astra Militarum, if I can say that. You've got Imperial Navy fighters and all that all put together. So it's not true Imperial Soup. You can't mix that with either with Space Marines. You can do some stuff with Custodes if you've picked one list or the other. So yeah, I think that's a cool way to get some really neat Imperial forces on the board. All right. Anything else on Saturday anyone wants to talk about? No one wants to mention Fat Rosie's? Okay, we won't talk about Fat
wasn't
Rosie's.
that our Fat Rosie's night? Nobody wore the sombrero.
No. I know. So I'm disappointed. Brett, you have an excuse. You had a limited number of time to Fat Rosie's. Chris went to Fat Rosie's 3 times and still did not wear the sombrero. So I don't know what holier than thou clean living goes on whenever Chris goes to Fat Rosie's, but that many visits and no one wearing a sombrero, I'm disappointed, to say the least. Disappointed.
Well, in my defense, the 3rd time was just me picking up food for the people that I got sick.
You still wear the sombrero, man.
It was just me sitting. It was me sitting at the bar waiting on food. So, but I did have a margarita while I was waiting.
Well, see, there you go. Perfect lead into wearing the sombrero. No, it was a good time. That was fun to go out and hang out and do that. And we obviously had some other non-lead pursuit guys there, so it was good to goof off and let off a little steam after most of the weekend was over. And then we rolled into Sunday. So Sunday, Chris was teaching a class again, another paint class, and we did the big MiG alley for Blood Red Skies. So John Russell's 1/72nd scale aircraft, put some MiGs and F-86s on the board, put some Panthers out there, actually had some, let's see, what are they? They were Banshees. That we doubled as Panthers, but we had Banshees in as bombers and suppression. So really fun game. If you've never seen 1/72nd scale Blood Red Skies, it was run with the same distances, the same rules, the same almost everything, except a couple gotchas that we saw as we were playing it with the larger scale aircraft or the larger aircraft for Korea, like the Banshee. All of a sudden, the tip tanks on the Banshee's wing there made it really easy for me as one of the MiGs to be able to shoot and to get heavy hitter in close because his wings were just so darn big. But it's still fun. It still looks pretty neat when you've got 4 anti-aircraft sights around the bridge and aircraft for dogfighting and aircraft for diving in, suppressing the flak with rockets. And then the bombers came in and they didn't hit shit. So some really terrible rolling. Well, we let them roll a couple times. We're like, just keep flying down the bridge and keep rolling. And they still didn't destroy the bridge. So
I thought the Banjo had a card.
No.
It doesn't? I swear it did.
It does not.
Huh.
Nope. So unfortunately, no. Maybe on the see now you're going to make me look at the Korea master list. I'm going to pull it up. It might be in the master list.
I think
it's probably in the master list, but it didn't. There's no card for it that I've seen. It might be hiding out there. You never know. Let's see. I'm going to open up the file right now and see what's in there.
And the only reason I think it does is because I bought 2 of the 172 models specifically to do that.
To go with your A4s? Oh, sorry, too soon.
Yeah. Sad.
I know that joke.
Casey owes me some A4s.
Oh, let's see here. All right. Yeah, I don't think in the file from our German buddy he has any of the Korean stuff. Let's see here. Nope, and nope. Alternate aircraft. Oh, wait, there we go. There is a Banshee card, 2-1-12. So heavy hitter Jet 1, it is not robust. So there you go. I could have printed that one out. Fail.
See,
and your favorite Tiger Cat's in here. Yeah, no, we should have printed that one out to use that. But it wouldn't have made any difference out there.
Oh, I'm sure not.
It was fun though. So yeah, it was a good group. The Iron Dice guys were over there playing again and playing on the Allied side. I was flying some of the MiGs, and it was pretty darn cool. Even though the MiGs we finally got boomed out towards the end of the game, but that's all right. Okay, and then after that, heck, we all packed up. We all got out of there. And did our best to drive back and not lose our mind. All right, so let's wrap this up with a couple takeaways here. Obviously, got to say good things about the Nerds of War, Mike, Don, that whole crowd. Freaking amazing. It was good to also meet and hang out with the Iron Dice guys. It's kind of funny between Iron Dice, Eric Moreno's another guy. There's guys that we've talked to a little bit, hung out with briefly. It was good this Adepticon to get to spend more time hanging out with them and yucking it up and acting like a bunch of idiots. Eric did kind of throw a challenge out to us. Steve, Brett, do you guys remember Eric's challenge?
So he thinks he's some kind of like hot shit at this game. All right. He wants to play me in like a Fast and Furious style pink slip challenge. Yes. That if he beats me, he can take any of my airplanes home. And if I beat him, I can take any of his airplanes home. The issue I'm having is, I got to fly with all the streaming stuff. I got to fly with all the swag. I don't have room to fit his collections of airplanes in my suitcase after I push his dick in this tournament, in this game. Like, Eric, I love you, buddy, but I don't. You're gonna have to ship your planes to me when I win. So it is what it is. We'll figure something out. But
yeah, there was a game for slips there, and then that one ended up being a draw. So nobody even got any airplanes, and one guy's forces were borrowed anyway, so that would have been even funnier. But yeah, so.
Yeah, I will say my biggest takeaway from this Adepticon is if you have kind of avoided the Hyatt because of the stereotype of historical gamers, I feel like every year we kind of find like other pockets of historical gamers that are shockingly normal. Right?
I
don't know that I'd go that far.
Or as normal as normal as we can be, I guess, right? So I feel like we're really if you haven't ventured over to the Hyatt, or you have friends that haven't ventured over there, you really got to kind of encourage them to make a trip, because I feel like the dynamic and the Nerds of War are doing a really good job of kind of shifting that dynamic and stuff. So I feel like we really need to. Really, really good things are happening.
Hot take, we're all actually just getting older.
No, I'm not. I'm actually still cool, so don't worry about it. Anyway, Chris.
Wait, is that a Space Marine print back there? Is that a white dwarf right behind you?
Yeah, what do you know?
The awesome thing about the Hyatt too is just it's a better hotel. I'm sorry, than the Renaissance. Yeah. It's cleaner, it's nicer, the staff is better, everything about the facilities was better. And the fact that there is a bus that every 20 minutes goes over to Main Adepticon, I don't know why I would ever even fight to get a room.
It's awesome because you only spend 15 minutes standing in the snow waiting for the bus.
But it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. Which
we were inside we waited inside, and you could see the bus pull up. The bus sat out there at both locations for 5 or 6 minutes, and there were people that were standing out there like there was only going to be one seat on it, and it was like, come on, guys. But no, it worked really well. And I guess Adepticon was encouraging people to park over at the Hyatt too, to kind of ease the parking problem.
Because there's a lot of extra parking over there. I think they've done a great job. They struggled the first year. They kind of got it dialed in last year for the shuttle. And this year was definitely a repeat success. It worked out very well to have the shuttle take you over there. Unless you're like me and you're carrying 10,000 pieces of swag, then you just end up parking in the auxiliary parking lot and walking out.
Yeah, it's nothing like being able to walk right out of the gaming hall and hit the bar or get some food or whatever. Yeah. That's not as easy at the Renaissance or the other hotel anyway.
Yeah, it's funny because obviously in the main hotel there, they've got more for like a fast food. There's all kinds of food that you can go get pretty easily. But if you want to go sit at the bar and having multiple attached restaurants within a quick walk. And then obviously Kuma's Corner is right down the way. I mean, if you're over at the Renaissance, you're coming out and around, you're giving up your good parking spot to go over to Kuma's Corner. For us, we pull out, we just cut down the side road and we're there in less than 5 minutes. And we can deploy Steve to go buy some socks since he didn't have any socks when he showed up. But hey, he had all the streaming gears. That's really all I care about.
He had his patrol sock.
Whoa! Is that like a deployment sock? I don't want to know.
Yeah, it was a bummer. Last year I had to borrow Brett's hand lotion. This year I had to borrow a pair of socks. It was just this.
I see a theme here,
dude. Talk about coming completely unprepared.
Yeah, literally.
But honestly, you guys probably need to stop plugging the how good the hotel was at the historical site, lest they switch them up on you.
Yeah, exactly. Put us over in the Renaissance, but no, it was a really good setup. And thanks again once to Kuma's Corner because they once again did the Adepticon Dice burger deal, and that their burgers are awesome. It's a great venue to have good music and some cold beer and get something good to eat, and then go back and lose the rest of your games as your dice go cold. All right. Anything else about Adepticon that you guys want to cover besides Matt continuing to cry in his White Claw for not being able to attend?
You know what? It was almost like I was there based on the amount of swag you all gave me. So
we wanted you to feel loved. We didn't want you to feel like you were left out.
Dude, do you know how hard it was to hide 2 boxes of Clash of Steel from my wife?
You go and you buy something from Home Depot and you put it in Home Depot bags. I don't know.
Yeah, you're a real amateur at that if that was hard.
Yeah, that was hard. Yeah.
Well, you jackasses don't tell me the shit until after the fact. So how am I supposed to learn?
Yeah, exactly. No one helps you out.
It's not that big deal. You can just get divorced. She doesn't want half of your Clash of Steel tanks. It's all good. You can keep both boxes.
She only wants your money. She doesn't want half your Clash of Steel. Oh, it's a harsh crowd. She won't take any of your A4s either, so you're good. He's just going to look at me in utter disgust. Yeah, sure you did. That's the party line. I sold them all. All right. Well, yeah, maybe. All right. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. I also appreciate all the listeners out there that we ran into at Adepticon. That was super cool. Again, even though it is kind of funny whenever anyone walks up and says, "Oh, I listen to the Lead Pursuit podcast," it just does make me wonder what a sad, boring life you lead that you actually have time to listen to us and not a much better podcast. But honestly, that's all right.
I'm a little concerned, like, somebody walks up and say, "Hey, I heard you on your podcast." And you're like waiting for a punch to the face or kicks in the nads.
Yeah, I kind of am, I'm kind of waiting for somebody to stab me for making fun of Space Marines for the 340th time. But guess what? I have a Space Marine army on my own. And in 28 mil as well. All right. But please go out, subscribe to the podcast. Give us your comments. Give us your feedback. Tell us how much we suck at this podcasting thing. And remember, we cannot save you hundreds on your car insurance, but we can help you not become a grognard. All right, so if Chris is also sanding, stop fucking goddamn sanding on the podcast.
It wasn't sanding. I was dry fitting.
Well, okay. It sounded like a fucking rattling, chewing on something. All you fuckers are going to drive me nuts in post having to edit out all your fucking shit.
What's that?
Was that a dead body falling down the stairs?
Jesus Christ.
Is that OJ getting tossed in the crematorium?
I literally was about to say something. Okay, well, roger that. No worries. Oh, fuck me. I gotta take up a new line of work. I'm going back to photography. Fuck this shit.